Welcome to Director's Cut. Again this afternoon we've got a series of directors passing through Director's Cut today, and from the North and the South England Conference. We're starting off, as we should do, with the ladies. You both represent Women's Ministries, Malika from the South and Geraldine from the North, both doing good jobs, I'm sure. Malika, we'll start with you. Just give me a summary. What are the women up to in the South England Conference?
In the South England Conference at the moment, the women are up to doing ministry outside of the box. And so what they're doing, the relationships that they built up over the last 2 years through their retreats and the days of fellowship, they're keeping in contact with those women so as to be able to hopefully do a reaping in 2013.
Okay, you've just given me some jargon. Women outside the box sounds very strange to me. Just tell me, jumping about. I mean, are you out there doing aerobics? I don't know. Explain to me what that means.
Where evangelism outside the box is evangelism not done in the usual way. So we're not calling people to evangelistic campaigns. We're actually going out and evangelizing. And so what we've done is we've used different programs that we've had to be able to invite our friends, to be able to invite our family that are not in church, and then keeping them in touch with the other programs that we have, like book club, aerobics, walking club, you know, all those sorts of cookery club, so we can exchange menus and things like that.
Okay, that sounds like fun. Are you out the box in the North, or are we straight and stayed and stay at home and look after the husband? I mean, what's Women's Ministries doing up in the North?
Well, up in the North, I think we haven't had quite as much time to get ourselves jumping in and out of boxes as Malika and her lot are doing.
I've got this image in my brain, but yes.
Very energetic women, yes. What we are doing is we are trying to connect with as many women as possible at grassroots. For us, Women's Ministries is about providing opportunities for growth. You know, there's that old thing of only certain people get to do things, and you need to be really good and you need to be really wonderful to be able to be used by God. I'm wearing a little badge here.
I am a woman God can use.
I am a woman God can use. And I think that pretty much sums up what we're trying to do. The vision for Women's Ministries in the North England Conference is every woman restored to serve. We understand that, you know, women come from all sorts of different circumstances, and we just want to spread the message that no matter where you are, no matter what's happened to you, no matter what is happening to you at the moment, that you can be used of God, and that there is that we provide an environment and support for women to be healed to a place where, you know what, I can do this, I can do so. So that's kind of what we're doing. We have something we didn't have before. We have got area leaders in all our areas at the moment who are working directly with our leaders to just try and foster this. So yeah, we're not jumping about quite as much, but we're doing loads and loads of things.
You're doing loads of stuff. Let me put my kind of male chauvinist hat on. I mean, you know I'm not like that really, but just for the sake of Director's Cut, you believe me, that's brilliant. I mean, do we really need women's ministries? There's more women in the church than men, yes. And surely you're ministering all the time. Do we need this special department?
I believe that we do, because our women, although we're more than the men in the church, we've not been given the chance to do evangelism on the ground. Now our women realize that they are as much in partnership with the men inside of the church.
Oh, what a good
so
word
to be
use.
able to go onto the ground to do the evangelism. We need each other to be able to finish the work that needs to be done. So it's about empowering them. So that they can empower others and to aspire other women at the same time. Also, you've got to take into consideration our young women as well.
Okay.
So I know that Geraldine and myself are working with the young women, because if we can get them at that age, in their teens, to be able to grow into learning about evangelism in a different guise.
Yeah, because you recently had, was it you that had the young women's retreat?
Yes,
it looked very scary when I read the report.
It wasn't scary at all. It was talking about to the young women about real issues in their real lives, the way that they live their lives and not the way that we see them or want them to live their lives.
And that's important, isn't it?
That's
because the church is often seen as a kind of artificial thing, and this does it really.
But
Geraldine, a last word from you on women, and then we need to move on. To
well, it is a fact. It is a fact that there are certain things that women do better than men, like ministering to other women.
Okay. Yes. I always found, I mean, as a church pastor, I always found it was a great advantage having a wife, because when the members got upset with me, they always loved her.
Yes.
And if they got upset with her, then I could still talk to them. And partnership was an important
So
word.
no matter how nice you are and how approachable, there are certain things that a woman would much rather share with another woman. And a woman who then is empathetic and who is able to guide that one, help that one, support that one, is better equipped, I think, than any man could ever be, simply because she is a woman and God made her that way. And that's all I can say at this moment, because I think you want to stop.
That's fine. We need to move. You're also Children's Ministries Director, and you are...
Family Ministries.
Family Ministries. So is the other Family Ministries person here? No, he's not here yet. So we'll let you sit down for a minute, and we'll bring Children's Ministries over here. Yep, here we go. You get a double portion, look at that. All right, so Malika from the South England Conference now taken off the Family Ministries, Women's Ministries hat and put on the Children's Ministries.
Yes.
And Beulah from the North England Conference. I'm going to let you go first because Malika's had far too much to say already. And we'll just dominate the whole conversation.
Thank you.
There, do you feel empowered now?
Yes.
Good. Okay, Beulah, tell me what's happening with children in the North England Conference.
In the Children's Ministries Department, which is a new department for myself, the first thing that I wanted to explore was a statement, a vision statement that actually would set the pace for what we want to do with our children in the church. And the vision statement is growing children in Christ. And looking at that meant that we had to look at all the different areas of our church where our children can be involved and need to be involved, and actually give them that real opportunity. When Christ said, "Suffer the little children to come to me," it was about making sure that as adults we don't sort of stand in their way, but we actually open them up.
So how does that happen in practice? Because, you know, as a pastor, I believe in empowering children. When I was in a local church, I wanted the children taking the offering up, doing the scripture reading, being involved in worship, so that the church belonged to them. But often that doesn't necessarily happen. You can say things at head office there at Zula Road in Nottingham, but does it happen down, you know, in the little church in the country or in the middle of Birmingham or Manchester?
Well, it does. What I've been doing is I've been carrying out, delivering some children's ministries days, and I've been going around the churches, and I do several programs with them and workshops with them. And one of the workshops, I get them to look at what ways they could get children involved in every single department. And what's been happening with that particular activity when we do it is that the children have been in each group, and the children have told the adults what they want to do. And when we've had the feedback, some amazing things have happened where the children have actually gone up and said, "We would like to take the offering up. We would like to be involved when you go out on outreach. We would like to actually be involved and do the prayer or read the scripture reading," or all of those things. And some of the adults have gone, "My goodness, I didn't know that." And so I said to them, right now you have written your mandate for how you're going to include children in the whole of the church worship. And you wrote it, I didn't come here and impose it. So now you can take it to the next place and make it happen. So
okay, you're sharing the good news, and I'm going to come to Malika in a minute. I'm going to ask you both the same question. I'm going to give you an experience. When my daughter was 14, I was doing Bible studies with her and 3 of her friends. Yes. So I've got 4 teenage girls, all keen, all enthusiastic, all studying the Bible, and we came to a Bible study on how to keep the Sabbath, and part of that was involvement in worship. The next day, of their own initiative, they went to the worship leader. I'm not going to tell you which church it is. They went to the worship leader and said, "Please, we want to be involved." And the worship leader said, "Yes, fantastic," and never ever came back to them. What do you do? Because you're giving us the good news. What do you do when it's difficult news like that?
When it's difficult news like that, I'm also working with the elders. I have some workshops for elders where I'm actually talking to them about their real, involvement with children, how they need to make that happen, how they need to train the young people to shadow them and not forget that they are there, and that they are only supposed to be involved in like the Sabbath school part of things, and when we start the main service, they're to be kept away.
That's serious, isn't it? Yeah.
So
that's when we worship
we
God,
really
and the
do.
others all are peripheral. Yeah.
That's it. But
Okay.
when they have heard the children actually go up and say, do you know, we would really like to be involved in this, a lot of the elders didn't realize. So I've asked them to try and do the shadowing.
Okay.
And keep that going, not let it go.
Right. Same question to you, Malika.
I've done almost exactly the same thing over the last year and a half. I've been training the Sabbath school teachers on how to make Sabbath school more exciting for the children that are in Sabbath school. But also I've done programs with the whole church by talking about inclusion of the children within the church program. I myself am an elder at a church where that's been happening for years. So it's easy for me to be able to show them that it actually does work, and that the children in the church are not the children, are not of the church of tomorrow. They're actually the church of the present. And so therefore, there is no reason why we have some young people that can pray really well, given the chance. We have young people that can be ushers. We had a team that was ushers. And a couple of years ago in our church, we had a 16-year-old that ran the PA department. And so it can happen. And if you give them that joy and give them that inclusion in church, it has been proven that they will stay there past the 16-year-old mark.
And I tell you, I've been to 2 churches, one in each conference in the last 18 months, where there's an 8-year-old or an 11-year-old running the hymns for the song service with the projector, and they never get it wrong. You know, the adults, their mind wanders, the children, they're spot on, the hymn's up there, it's playing.
They do.
So from your experience in your church, where you've been running children's ministries for many years, do you see those children growing up, getting baptized and staying more than perhaps the average?
Yeah, you know, we have quite a few of what you call were children who are now grown up to be qualified doctors, teachers, psychiatrists, and all sorts of, and they grew up through that system, and it has made them stay. But not only that, they want to get involved in other ministry. So you find that a 28-year-old young lady and a 30-year-old guy, they're running the young girls, young men's group, you know, and they grew up inside of the church. And you've got other young people that are going and visiting the old people's home, and they're instigating that for themselves. And so therefore, they found a place in church. And when
Brilliant. I can see you're excited about it, yes. So we're going to have to move on. So thank you, Malika, for sharing about women and about children. Thank you, Beulah, for sharing about children. Malika, if you want to sit down, and we'll invite Terry Messenger. Terry, if you'd like to come and join us, because your other hat is Sabbath School. Okay, and Terry, just to introduce you to those watching us on the live stream, Terry, you look after personal ministries and Sabbath School. That's right. So we're going to talk about Sabbath School together, and then you can sit down, and we'll try and get through this in about 5 minutes. Sabbath School, I mean, Adventists do Sabbath School, but isn't it now a dying art form? People just turn up at 11:15 for the main service. It's just a few old folk that come to Sabbath School. And let's ask Terry first.
I mean, that's a very good question. And I think, sadly, over the past 20 or 30 years, Sabbath School attendance has declined, and it has become that way. But my understanding of Sabbath School is that actually it is something that is a genius of the church, as far as I can see. In fact, just to give a little personal testimony, when I first started searching for a church to attend, many years ago now, 30 years ago. Wow. I remember, I know I don't look that old, do I? But I remember...
You came as a baby.
Okay, that's right. I remember I was very impressed when I walked into the Adventist church, and they were actually discussing the Bible. It wasn't just a preaching service. They weren't just singing hymns. They were actually discussing the Bible, talking about the Bible, and it seemed to me in quite a meaningful way. And that was one of the things that attracted me to the faith, to the belief in actual.
So why is it then that, you know, in other parts of the world there are more Sabbath School members than there are church members, but within the British Union, the North and South England conferences, Sabbath School attendance is much lower? What are you doing to change that? Again, Terry, and then I'll come to you, Beulah.
Yeah, and again, you've asked a very good question, and I think we're trying to address this in a number of ways. I think the first thing that we're trying to do is to look at the quality of teaching, to try to uplift the teaching, and I know Beulah's working hard on that as well. And we're looking to perhaps put some quality in the teaching area, so that people, when they come to Sabbath school, they're engaged, they're involved in a lively discussion, and it's worth coming to. So that's the first thing we're doing. We're also trying to enable the Sabbath school to become more user-friendly in the sense of the community. I think what has happened, and I think it's something that's crept up very slowly upon us, is that the Sabbath school has become very much like a closed shop for us Adventists. Whereas really the original idea was it to be a place where people could come from the community and actually discuss the Bible with us.
And participate together.
That's it, absolutely.
Excellent. And I know, Beulah, you are a teacher, aren't you? I mean, you're someone that's not just a teacher, you've taught teachers.
Yes.
So you're the experts to revive Sabbath school. It must be rushing away in the north now.
It's beginning to take up a little bit of a pace. Sabbath school is a place of learning, and yes, you're right. As an educator, when the Lord asked me to take up Sabbath school, I said, well, Lord, you must want me to train and to enable people to actually take hold of the Bible and study it in a real way. So I've made a two-pronged approach. I'm looking at helping members to develop their Bible study skills, and I'm looking at training the teachers to deliver a more interactive lesson, because in particular with the adults, for example, adults learn better when they are interacting, and a lot of our teachers, they are volunteers, they're very precious to us, but sometimes they need equipping, and so I've put on a whole range of training courses that will help to equip our teachers so that they can feel more confident and effective. At the same time, I'm running Bible study training for members who they open the Bible sometimes, they don't know where to start, so that can actually enthuse them to get involved.
It's the two things together.
And then the two can come together.
I've got a last question for the two of you on Sabbath school,
Yes.
and that is a pastor friend of mine said to me a couple of years ago, Sabbath school is the worst thing that happened to the Adventist church, because the church is full of eccentric lay people who get up there and have a platform. The pastor doesn't know what they're teaching, and heresy just floods into the church through Sabbath school. You're saying no. Defend yourself. You've got 30 seconds.
I defend it because when I actually train the teachers, I train them out of the actual quarterly. I teach them how to actually plan a lesson using the quarterly, so they're not going anywhere. But then I tell them that the real emphasis is the Bible, that the thing that they must always ask their students to do is make your response to a question Bible-based. And they have learned how to do that, and they've realized that that is actually quite helpful and a very seriously safe way to actually ensure that everybody is singing from the same hymn book, because
Excellent.
they're coming from the Bible.
Okay, that was 45 seconds. Terry.
Yeah, I think that whoever made that comment was slightly pessimistic, and there may be a little grain of truth in it. But
Well, I've sat in some fairly bad Sabbath school classes as I go around churches every Sabbath. I've heard some excellent ones and others where I groan and think, Beulah or Terry, they need to be there.
yeah, and I think you're right. I think there's quite a mixture. I think some places are better than others. But again, as Beulah was saying, we at the South, we're trying to address that issue. One of the things we do is send out the Sabbath school personnel a resume of the lesson every week, so that the teachers can have a chance to see the lesson in condensed form, and hopefully to be able to be guided to ask the right questions to enable the discussion to be livelier.
So it's a work in progress that's going to continue and grow. Beulah, thank you so much for talking to us on your two hats that you wear. Terry, stay here, you can sit down, and we'll ask Pastor Mike Simpson as the last guest today. We're now moving away from Sabbath school, not that we don't believe it's important, but we like evangelism and we like personal ministries. I'm going to be surrounded now. We're changing positions. I don't know what this is going to do to the camera people. Just come this way slightly, then Katie can see us. This is just to announce Katie is one of our camera people today. Mike, I knew Mike. There's a whole In Conversation episode that can be seen online that will tell the whole story about you. But you have a passion for evangelism, and an evangelism that reaches out and touches not necessarily the kind of person we expect to see in church. Tell me what your passion is.
My passion really is to reach the UK and the popular folks in the UK for Christ. Really, we want to reach everyone, but I have a passion to see the complexion of our church change to match the complexion of our community, basically, and that's the thrust of it.
And are you succeeding in any way?
Yeah, we are seeing results. We have across the conference at the moment. We have what we call task force workers placed there, and we've just baptized 3 folks in Southport. We have about another 5 to be baptized, and we are studying currently with over 90 folks receiving Bible studies in Southport, and they are all...
Which is a fantastic thing, because Southport was a church that was almost dead, wasn't it?
Well, yes, we could
haven't
say.
got time to tell the whole story.
No, but that church was really dead.
So that's one example.
Yes.
I'll come over to Terry, because we've only got about 2 minutes left. And Terry, what's happening in South England, personal ministries-wise? What's exciting there?
Well, I think there's many things happening, but to highlight perhaps one of the things is one of our churches, or one of our church plants, I should say, began a community chaplaincy service, type door-to-door witnessing. And that has been very interesting in the sense that they have been able to reach different types of people, just as Mike has been saying. And the idea there, it's a kind of prayer ministry, but they are reaching people's needs and meeting people's needs. And indeed, out of this, 2 groups have been formed from that church plant where people have met together, one group studying the Bible, one group just a social group. What we're actually hoping to do, we're very excited about it, we're hoping to roll this out to the rest of the South England Conference so that every church can look at the whole concept of community chaplaincy services, so that the Adventist church would have a chaplain in each local district to try and serve the needs of the community.
Okay, so that's 2 different good ideas, and I'm sure, you know, if we had the time, we would get 10 different good ideas, because I know you're both passionate. I see you doing training all the time. I see Mike skipping right around the North England Conference doing so many things. I don't know how you've got the energy. You're such a young man. It's good he can do it, isn't it? You know, we'll get our Zimmer frames out.
You compliment me.
The passion that you've got is incredible and important. You've talked about trying to reach out into the greater population in Britain. One question, I'm just going to be totally politically incorrect for a minute.
Okay.
There is a perception, that in the North England Conference, personal evangelism is knocking on doors and is the traditional Ellen White model of evangelism. There is the perception that in the South England Conference, wow, things are really radical and anything goes. Is that a true picture, or are you actually closer together than it looks? I don't know who wants to answer that first.
Well, I actually think we're closer together than that perception. I think that in the South, speaking for the South, we tend to blend both methods together. There is the traditional. In fact, we've been promoting the door-to-door method of evangelism quite extensively because I still believe personally it's a good way of reaching people, very effective way of reaching people. At the same time, though, I think we're looking at other ways to try to reach people as well. And certainly my counterpart in the South, Pastor von Zalaides, is working on the church planting aspect and small groups aspect. And I think we work very well together. I think I tend to be perhaps the more traditional type person.
You look it, I have to say,
that's
yes.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, actually, Mike looks more radical than you. And
I know.
Yet he's the conservative. So but that's good. I mean, how do you respond, Mike?
I mean, the truth is that in the North, folks say that, you know, we just knock on doors and that's it. But the truth is we do barbecues, we do outreach, we do walks in the parks, we do street parties, we do garden parties, we do all these things. But what we're saying to the members is, hey, don't forget door-to-door work. And if we want to target people specifically, we've got to go to their homes. And Helen G. White does talk about going into their homes. Door-to-door gets us there. But that's not the end of the program. We do a fellowship lunch, we do all the crazy stuff and all the creative stuff as well as door-to-door work and Bible study. So we combine, as Terry says, blend all aspects of evangelism together. No one method can reach everyone. And so you've got to deploy different ways and be very creative. But what I'm saying is still do door-to-door work.
Yeah, and as I recall Pastor Mark Finley saying, the best form of evangelism is to go out and do it.
Exactly, and that's it.
So if knocking on doors is your thing, go and do
exactly.
it. If a barbecue, I like the barbecue idea.
Yeah. Oh, we do a lot of those.
Do a bit more of that?
Yeah, that'd be nice.
At our next director's cut, can we have
A barbecue?
Yeah.
We may do.
We could arrange something, couldn't we?
We could arrange something.
Are you a good cook?
Well, my wife thinks so.
Folks, I think what you can see here is that with these two pastors, these two directors, there is an enthusiasm for evangelism, whatever form it takes, and they want to help you be involved in evangelism. That's Director's Cut for today. We've gone through a ream of different directors and the roles that they're doing, the joy that you can see in each of their ministries, and we've concluded today with personal ministries with Pastor Simpson and Pastor Terry Messenger. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for all of those who have joined us today. And if you tune back in tomorrow, we'll talk to some more from the north, from the south in Director's Cut. Thank you very much.